just how is Russia able to keep up its defense? Do they have a trick up their sleeve? But is Ukraine still making progress, even in an unexpected direction? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's June 16th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's look at the control map. Biggest update is no updates, according to the control map. I think they actually have this wrong. But what I do want to point out is that, again, what also isn't happening is Ukraine or Russia is not able to take back any of the territory that has been seized. You can see that a lot of this territory here near Rivnopol, as well as the advance south towards Makivka, Russia hasn't really been able to reverse any of Ukraine's gains. They've largely consolidated. But when we look at War Mapper points out that in the last 8 hours, this is from about 8 hours ago, that in outside of Ivansky, Ukrainian forces have been able to push and gain additional territory near Klitschivka, as well as around the flanks of Bakhmut. We can see here, he's reporting that again, the biggest advance has been towards this Klitschivka. So when we plot it on the control map, you can see it looks something like this. Probably this, my guess would be this piece of forest here is probably the defensive area that Ukrainian forces are in the process or have flipped from Russian control. So it's not, it really puts them on the stepping stones of Klitschivka, which once they can hold it, right, they can establish some of these urban strongholds and start to really flip the southern front, the southern area of Bakhmut, which, again, I maintain that Ukraine's strategy in this is probably to try to encircle Bakhmut and force a Russian withdrawal, the exact same strategy that Russia tried to use against them. And what I want to point out, what I think is so significant about the gains we've been seeing outside Bakhmut, is that this is where Russian forces have not dug in. This is where they have remained in a offensive posture basically for months. In contrast to Zaporizhzhia, where Russian forces have firmly been pivoting to the defense. And we see it in the maps, right? It's very clear that Russian forces have robust defense works. Let's see if we can scroll down, if I can find it for you. I mean, you can see all these red dots represent prepared defensive positions by Russian forces. It's really just a zigzag, a crisscross of substantial defensive areas. And it's going to be and as we're seeing, it's a hard nut to crack for Ukrainian forces. Now, if you want access to some of the combat videos, obviously I can't do the breakdowns here on YouTube. So where I do is I do them all on combatvetnews.com. Only 1% of the viewers of this channel are members at Combat Vet News, and it's the best way to support the channel. Plus, it gets you access to all these videos. Civdiv just dropped a viral video of one of his friends, a drone operator, taking out what functionally is a bunker, where two Russian soldiers are holding out underneath a destroyed tank. It's a fascinating case study in clearing a bunker and in the Russian military's willingness to kind of abandon its troops. But if you want that breakdown and all the breakdowns of all the viral combat videos, you want to become a member. Any one of these tiers will get you access to it. They'll also get you access to the members only room on the Discord. So yeah, check it out. Link should be in the description as well as right over here. Okay. So what is exactly Russia's another reason that they are so sticky in their defense? Well, the answer, according to some Russian mill bloggers, is Russian electronic warfare capabilities. And of course, their defensive doctrine, right? By all accounts, Russia has maintained good order in their defense. And even the Institute for the Study of War who is definitely doesn't pull any punches in denigrating the Russian military, has acknowledged that they're conducting doctrinally sound operations. Their first echelon of forces is slowing or repelling Ukrainian attacks, and then a second echelon counterattacks, blunting any breakthroughs. But one Russian mill blogger says that Russian electronic warfare systems are preventing Ukrainian forces from using their precision-guided munitions, those guided by GPS, and are heavily disrupting Ukrainian radio communications. Millblogger claims there's a system called the Murmansk BN, which disrupts sensors on Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance equipment, so drones, and the Krashuka 4, which suppresses connections with satellites within a radius of a staggering 300 kilometers. So this would functionally prevent any GPS precision guided munitions from operating on the battlefield. Now, you could still presumably use systems like IR guided weapons, but those require, of course, aircraft or a fire direction, a soldier providing that, lasing the target, so to speak. And the Institute for the Study of War even acknowledges that these Russian electronic warfare capabilities are really complicating Ukrainian attacks in Zaporizhzhia. But I think this is a trend we're seeing across this war, that a lot of very expensive, very, very difficult to produce military technologies are being cheaply and fairly easily mitigated through simple technologies on both sides, right? As we've talked about, Russia, despite having a much larger, more advanced air force, can't dominate the airspace, in large part because Ukraine is employing sometimes even just like Soviet era anti-tank weapon or anti-aircraft weapons. Many of Russia's elite tanks are rarely seen on the battlefield because of the fear of, again, as something as simple as a Javelin or Panzerfaust anti-tank weapon. You find more and more that the ability to counter advanced technology can sometimes be so much cheaper and so much simpler. And the result is that you find more and more the almost World War One-ification of these front lines, where you simply run out of gee whiz, super technologies, and you find yourself again resorting to the unjammable, utterly reliable human being with their individually assigned weapon taking territory, which is, of course, one of the reasons we've seen almost World War I rates of casualties in this fighting. Anyway, guys, that's really all I had for you. Of course, thank you so much to the patrons of Patreon. Hold on, I have indeed an updated shout out list for Combat Vet News because I got to shout you guys out, right? We've got a bunch of new members. I think it's really great that we have so many folks out here who are supporting the channel. Again, the 1% of the 1%. Here we go. Yeah. Thanks again to our Colonel tier members. There's so many of you guys, and thanks again to our Lieutenant tier members. You can see there's just a ton. So I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.